Hello there. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Colleen Klimczak. I'm an organizational and productivity coach and a certified professional organizer. I own Peace of Mind Professional Organizing, LLC. Since 2003, I've been helping my clients live better lives through organizing and organizational and productivity coaching. I support my clients and my community with coaching, in-person and virtual organizing, my weekly podcast called Your Organized Life with Colleen Klimczak, a free weekly virtual productivity session called Finish Line Friday, a free weekly email newsletter, and regular content on Facebook and Instagram. I also offer presentations and professional development to groups and companies. And coming soon, hopefully by the end of the summer, I will be launching my membership circle to support my community with even more coaching and productivity content. Want to finish strong this week? Join me for Finish Line Friday every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central for a 2-hour productivity session. Drop me an email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com to request my Zoom room link, or follow the Zoom room link on my Instagram or Facebook pages. Welcome to Your Organized Life, episode 135. So, as I was just explaining to my podcast producer, I am letting ChatGPT write my article titles these days. And what ChatGPT came up with was helping others handle stress, simple ways to be a calming presence. I really liked that. So, here we go. A few weeks ago, I mentioned to a friend that I was giving a presentation about stress management or life lessons I learned at camp. He and I have a lot in common, including time spent at scout camp. He is currently an active scout parent and leader, and we often talk about scouting and camp. And because he's also a professional speaker, it was even more fun to talk to him about my presentation. He had a great suggestion, and though it was too late to add it to the presentation for that week, it was still a good topic for an article and episode. And the topic was stress management for other people, or how we can help others manage their stress. There are stressful situations for some scouts and leaders at camp, of course, but also for the rest of us, for all of us in life. And so it definitely behooves us to have tools ready to help us manage stress and also help others manage their stress as well. So if you're a person that interacts with even one other person in your day-to-day, stress management for others may be helpful for you too. Now, I am not a therapist, and I am not asking or suggesting that you should be one either. However, for me, stress management is connected to time management, which is connected to productivity, and those ideas are often jumbled together and are areas that I am an expert in. So today I won't talk about how to counsel a person or get to the root of a problem. We're going to start with the easy and the obvious. First, we need to understand that everyone is going through things that we know nothing about. It is not up to us to decide for others if they're stressed out or not. We can just start by assuming that people around us are stressed. It's that easy. And we can be gentle and kind, or we can just be kind as a default. That's always a good first step. The next easiest thing for us to do in helping others is to manage and regulate ourselves. If we ever hope to help someone else manage their stress, we really need to start with ourselves. We need to be grounded and calm and ready with our own stress management, because we can't help others with their stress if we aren't managing our own. It's important that we not lose our cool. We need to be aware that in any situation we're in, even if it's not stressful for us, it can be stressful to another person. So we need to be just open and aware. And if we're in a leadership role or just want to be a nice person, we need to be aware that pretty much any situation could be stressful for someone. We don't have to actively participate in another person's stressful situation, but we can be respectful that they're going through something. Another step is learning the signs and symptoms of stress so that we can identify them in others. And again, this is just awareness, right? It's also a part of being aware of our surroundings, which is good safety advice for life. Short term, again, we're not diagnosing long-term stressors today, but short-term signs and symptoms in others could be rapid or shallow breathing, very red or very pale skin, or maybe even excessive sweating. In behaviors, stress can look like nervous or jittery movements, or maybe somebody is over-consuming food or alcohol or smoking. Maybe they're speaking too much or too quickly, or too loudly or too quietly. Or maybe they're just showing behaviors that aren't appropriate for the situation. I mentioned that a symptom of stress can be rapid or shallow breathing. We are sympathetic breathers. And what that means is that we can subconsciously pick up on the breathing, like the rhythm or the frequency of the people around us. So you can walk into a room, for example, feeling perfectly fine. And within 5 or 10 minutes, you could be feeling stressed and you have no idea why. Then you realize that someone around you is stressed. Maybe they are breathing loudly and rapidly. And what happens is we start to match their breathing, even without knowing that we're doing it. And now we're breathing rapidly and our heart is racing too. So their stress is not your stress, but you're breathing as though you're stressed, and now your body's picking up on that. So we need to understand that sympathetic breathing happens. We need to get good at checking in with ourselves when we notice the symptoms of stress, especially if we're not in a stressful to me situation. And we also can realize that we have the power to reverse that process. We can be aware and then also breathe slowly and deeply to better manage our own stress and to set that tempo for others. I can choose to slow down my breathing. I can slow and moderate my gestures and movements, and I can share that and model that behavior for others. Now, shifting gears for a bit here. If you have the time, if you know the people around you well, if you have the opportunity to ask, please ask. Ask your friends or coworkers in non-stressful times what stresses them out, what stress looks like for them, and what helps them to manage their stress in the moment. We are not counseling. We are not diagnosing. We are just asking. And we can share that same information about ourselves with others in case we ever need help too. I'm reminded of the questionnaire that we as parents, or sometimes as students when we're older, answer for the teacher at the beginning of the school year. What are your likes, your dislikes, your coping strategies, etc.? And having those answers would be very helpful in helping others and also in helping others to help you. Using camp as an example, stressful things can be being away from home. Maybe it's hard things like jumping in the deep end of the pool, spiders or bees or bugs, thunderstorms, loud noises, etc. A few things that stress me out at the moment, in the moment, are running late, or rude people, or unexpected loud noises, or maybe a fear for my loved ones. And I'm sure there's more, but that's enough for today. So when we have that opportunity, ask and also share ahead of time. And when we're not stressed, ask. If I am picking up on stress symptoms with the people around me, I may ask my friends or family or in-person clients in a non-stressed moment what specific things stress them out and how do they choose to deal with them. Maybe are there any conditions that make it more difficult at some times than others for them to handle stress, and how can I help? We definitely want to avoid the stressors, sure, but also how to help them in the moment. For example, they might tell me that they often have shortness of breath, right? That might be a medical condition that they face. Or maybe they say, when I get stressed, I tend to breathe rapidly and sometimes I get a little lightheaded and I will need to sit down for a few minutes and practice my breathing. I won't be able to answer questions, but I'll be okay in a few minutes. And all of these are actual responses to this question. Another client said when they fly, they get nervous on takeoff. Fair enough. And so she asks family members or people that are around her to distract her with conversation until they're in the air. And that's really helpful for her. Another response was, if there is traffic or bad weather like snow or a rainstorm on my way home, I need a few minutes to decompress. Maybe change my clothes, have a snack, etc., to settle down and get ready for the evening. I had a client years ago who was a hoarder and also had an anxiety disorder. And I know how courageous she was to even work with me as an organizer. But working with me as an organizer was very stressful to her. She occasionally would ask if we could take a break and step outside, grab a glass of water, play with the dogs for a few minutes to help her calm down and refocus. And of course, the answer is, of course we can. In stressful moments, some people need a hug or the pressure of a hand on a shoulder. Then again, some people don't want that physical contact. Some people want your presence in stressful times, and some may want to be left alone for a bit. Some people need to talk it out, and some people need to think about something for a bit. Some people need quiet, and some people ask for noise or a distraction when they're stressed. Some seek a dark room, and some seek sunlight. Some may need a little rest, and then again, some may need physical activity to work through their stress. And some people cannot verbalize or share their coping mechanisms when they're overly stressed, which is why it's so helpful to ask in calmer times. I'd love to remove the stressors altogether for some of us, right? But we all know we're going to find ourselves in stressful moments. So let's get better at stress management for ourselves and also for others. Support around living your best life and getting the right things done for you and for others is what productivity coaching is all about. If it's time to invest in yourself and explore coaching for organizing and productivity, I would love to hear from you. Drop me a line via email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com or message me through my social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you next week.